Hello and welcome to Makers.dev, episode number 120. Chris, do you know the areas of the world in which 120 volts is the standard voltage that comes out of the wall when you plug something into it?
Well, the U.S.
The U.S. for sure, yeah. Do you think it's just the U.S.?
We like to do lots of weird things.
We sure do.
So I wouldn't be
You're on the right
surprised
track.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're the only or nearly only ones. I know Europe is 240, right?
Mm-hmm.
Australia probably followed Europe. I don't know about any parts of Africa or Asia though. So yeah, not sure.
That's a very reasonable guess. Yeah, it's USA, Canada, Central America, and then just like the northernmost tip of South America. And then everywhere else is, most other places are 240. And then there's some weird ones. Some of them are like 100 volts in some weird small countries.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
yeah,
Not just that. The US is at 60 hertz and nearly everywhere else is at 50 hertz, which is another fun fact.
That didn't come up in my research. That's interesting. Yeah. And it seems like it's just sort of an arbitrary quirk that like you pick one and then it's really, really hard to change because then everything is standardized on what that is. And a consequence of this is, of course, like electronics are incompatible between the two places unless you intentionally build something that's compatible with multiple voltages. And because the voltage is higher in other countries, things like electric water kettles boil water faster in Europe, and like hair dryers dry hair faster in Europe because they got more oomph to go along with them. Also, if you plug a electric car into just a regular outlet in Europe, it's going to charge faster than if you plug it in the US. So yeah, that's my fun fact about the number 120. How are you? How's your life going?
I'm doing all right. I haven't done much business stuff this week. We were talking, like it sounded like you didn't really either. I did. It was Father's Day yesterday, and both of my kids went to see a movie without me, different movies. And so I stayed at home and did yard work. That's what I did. That's what I wanted to do, though. There's just like a sort of abandoned corner of our house. Not abandoned, neglected. And it's never a priority because it's like back behind our, like no one can see it. And so I cleaned that up, and it took me all day, basically, like 5 hours. But it's done now. So I get to look at something nice instead of a pile of wood and a bunch of weeds.
Love it. I have a philosophical question for you that came up on Mother's Day. When does a person become a father? Am I a father?
So, different couples do this differently, and if you do it wrong, then your spouse will get very angry. So the correct answer is whatever your spouse thinks.
Yes, absolutely. I found on Mother's Day, I found myself sort of mentally framing like, well, no, Sarah, like we haven't had the baby yet. Sarah's not a mother yet. And she was traveling at the time. And Tyler came over, my brother-in-law came over to our house and was like, oh, let's go Mother's Day shopping. And I had this loop of a thought of like, hold on, no, because technically Sarah's not a mother. But then, hold on, wait. And I asked ChatGPT, like, when does a person become a mother? And it was like, well, it depends. And it's a bunch of different definitions. And by like 4 of the 5 definitions that it gave, Sarah was a mother. And then I realized, hold on, why am I splitting hairs here? Like, the point of Mother's Day is an opportunity to help a person in your life feel good. Like, yeah, if that opportunity is available, the game is just take as many of those opportunities as you can. I'm getting lost in the semantics. But now that I'm in the context of this podcast, I feel like we could, like, this is a safe space to be dealing with semantics. What, in your personal opinion, is the line of like when a person becomes a mother or father?
So I will say that I think women feel it way sooner because they have the baby inside them. Mm-hmm. And we, like, as fathers, we are, it feels less real until the baby comes out and you're like, oh crap.
Yes.
So that may be the difference. I also think
the feelings I totally get. I'm looking for like a strict legalistic definition. Like, what's the moment?
You can't be legalistic with this.
That's
this
is
like how you feel, man. I gave you my definition, which is whatever the couple decides.
Okay.
I have seen a lot of couples use the first Mother's Day when the woman is pregnant as like a celebration that they're pregnant. Yeah. I think that's a positive and healthy thing to do.
Yes. That's the correct framing to be approaching this question from, of like, what's the happy, healthy way to just, I'm looking for like real technical, like one of the definitions ChatGPT gave me was like biologically, you could argue that the moment at which two organisms become parents is the moment of conception, like when they have fertilized the egg. That's okay. They're both parents.
But are you a parent or are you the spouse of a pregnant person? Yeah.
Yeah. The definition that I think I've come to is it's the moment when you decide to take on the responsibilities of parenthood. So
some people with kids aren't even parents yet.
by my definition, and I don't know that that's correct. Like, if someone wants a Father's Day card and you can make their day happy by giving them a Father's Day card, I think, okay, in any situation, you can do that.
Yeah. The other thing I've seen in certain groups I'm a part of is some people don't have kids or can't have kids, but they are father-like or mother-like figures to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally fine to recognize them on Father's Day and Mother's Day as well, because they're providing, especially like, in the case of a father or mother who's died, like, they can be very supportive in that role. So I think that's totally valid too. You don't have to be biological to be a father or mother figure.
Adoptive parents in the same bucket. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think both of those are included in my definition of if someone has chosen to take on the responsibilities of fulfilling this role, then you can. I'm reminded of, there's this documentary that I just watched called What is a Woman? That's more of a conservative documentary that takes on this very sensitive topic of the transgender movement. And I'm not going to talk about the content of it. I think it was a very interesting documentary, but I thought there was a very interesting question that one of the researchers asked. So the framing of the documentary is there's the host, and he's going around to a bunch of different experts, doctors, and gender studies people, and asking them a bunch of questions. I think with the framing of pointing out that their own philosophy is internally inconsistent. But I thought one of the responses that one of the researchers gave was really good, because the documentary is sort of trying to frame it as absurd that people within this movement can't define what a woman is. And the response that the researcher gave was, well, what is a chair? Which is a great response, I think, because that's a big part of the complexity of this issue is we don't know what words mean. We use words to, not to say that like we should be totally nihilistic and, that everything is relative and you can't find meaning in words, but we use words for their utility and not their strict definitions. So the words father and mother have a meaning that's useful to us because we can attach labels to it of like, okay, we're at Six Flags and I'm trying to find this person's mother. Like, I'm not trying to split hairs about, well, is it my biological mother or
right.
Are you asking for the woman my caretaker who took me to this? Like, okay, calm down. Mother is what I'm looking for. Like, point to the person who I can give you to who is filling the role of mother as we all colloquially understand it in this context. But yeah, when you try to split hairs, even with something as simple as a chair, like it's difficult to have precise definitions of exactly what the boundary is of what makes something a chair or not a chair. And brings us back to the three classic hard problems of computer science: naming things, cache invalidation, and off by one errors. And I messed up the joke.
To make that the joke, you'd have to just say the first two.
Yes,
you'd still have the off by one error.
Yes, naming things and off by one errors are the three classic problems of computer science. That's what I was trying to say. Or you say that there are two, and then you also say cache invalidation. Yes. Anyway, naming things are hard, and it not just in computer science. It's like linguistics and meaning, and it's a complicated topic.
Yeah, I've heard the chair one before, which is great. It's like, well, it has 4 legs and you can sit on it. Now, a table has 4 legs and you can sit on it. Okay, 4 legs, you can sit on it and it has a back. Well, a horse has 4 legs, you can sit on it and it has a back.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to. And then you just go further and further. What about
stools,
a chair?
And there's stumps, and bar stools only have a single leg, and there's a ton of edge cases.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say something and now I totally forgot what I was gonna say. So yes, I think, when you become a mother is a similar, concept. There's when you become a father or Father's Day, and
I find this sort of conversation very interesting because I feel like it helps me sharpen or at least narrow the boundaries of the words that I use. I strive to be more precise in the words that I'm using and how I speak and think.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say, which is, have you heard that scientifically there's no such thing as a fish? I think
What?
that's correct. I'm going to have to look this up, but
Okay.
yeah, I think fish is the correct class. Like everything that's a fish is not a fish. Like certain fish are more related to other like mammals than they are to each other.
Huh.
And like in the tree of fish, there's no such thing as an actual fish, something like that. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I'm also reminded of the study the Army did. They were trying to make a cockpit, I think, for the average soldier or the average pilot. And they measured a bunch of people and everything, and they could not find an average person. Like, if you're the same height, then you have different arm span, or you have different wrist size, or different feet, or whatever. There was no such. They could not find an average pilot out of like however many thousands of people they measured, in all of the aspects that they were measuring. So I think I think that is a perfect example of why humanity is hard. Why these questions are debated and difficult.
I'm reminded of. Oh, in college English rhetoric, there was a unit that we took that was about this sort of semantic thing, and they gave us a handout that was how the categories of animals as they were defined in China in some ancient dynasty. And so it was in the context of like, okay, here's our current understanding of putting animals in categories. You got kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and subcategories. And the deeper down you go, the more closely related animals are. And so within that context, they showed us, okay, these were once the categories of animals, and it was like animals you can ride, animals belonging to the emperor, animals you can eat. It was mutually overlapping and not like much more. The categories were designed to be, I think, most useful within the culture that they were used in, which I think the lesson was that's what all the categories are. We're currently using kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species because that's currently the most useful way to differentiate what all the animal classes are. Fish. When we use the word fish like that, this is news to me, but I guess that's not technically accurate or internally consistent in the way that we're categorizing animals. But yeah, that's useful enough and has been useful enough that like if people know what you say when you mean fish, and when you go to McDonald's and you utter the syllables fish and you get the fish sandwich, that's good enough. That's close enough. With language has served its purpose. Yeah, I could talk about this with you for another 2 hours.
I know another similar one, which I just thought of, which, we can keep going on examples. Different countries or different languages have different words and different categories of words for colors. So there's lots of examples, but one of my favorites is in certain countries or certain languages, blue and green are the same word. You have like blue and light blue, which is green. And you're like, those are two different colors. How can you possibly call them different? But we do the same thing. We have red and pink. And pink is just light red. Why don't we call it light red?
Yeah. Also yellow and orange. We don't say dark yellow or light orange. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some even crazier examples, like certain languages only have like 4 words for colors, like very limited. Lots of, but like with modifiers.
Yeah.
So,
What's wild to me is in cultures without words for colors, those colors just don't exist. Yeah, that blew my mind. But like, that totally makes sense. And I was talking with someone about this the other day, and they were like, "What do you mean people don't have a word for blue? They look up the sky and it's blue." But you look at the sky and it's not really blue. It's first of all, it's infinite number of shades of no matter what sky you're looking at, and then also it's much more white than it is blue. It's got a blue tinge to it, but I think I have this idea supplanted in me just by the culture that I grew up in of like, okay, you got the Crayola colors and now we need to color the sky. You use the blue color for the sky. Color it blue. Yeah. And I could totally see how if I was living in a world that didn't label that color wouldn't exist to me. I wouldn't see it. Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. Yeah. It was, they have a word for green, but not for blue. Yeah. Because blue appears almost nowhere, sometimes in the sky, sometimes in water, but most of the water is actually kind of greeny anyway. Yeah. And then there's lots of green in nature. And so, that's why they had words for green, but not blue. Yeah.
You could argue blueberries also, but then if blueberries are close enough to just a
grow
dark
there,
color, then...
if it doesn't
blueberries
are mostly North American,
Yeah, then you're not going to see it. Yeah. Yeah. What colors exist that we don't have names for, and so we can't see them? What a fun line of thought. Okay,
Anyway.
let's go. Let's pull it back a little bit.
All right.
Can you tell me about your climbing weight loss adventure?
Oh yeah, I
any
told
updates
you.
there?
So I lost some weight. I'm on track 3.5 pounds in the last week,
Congratulations.
which I told you I was going to level out to. And I will hopefully continue that until I get closer to my weight where it will naturally plateau, I think. So
Cool.
that's the plan. I also told you I bought climbing shoes. I've used them, of course, when I go to gyms and stuff, but since I have a wall at home now, I bought some. And you asked me which kind. I don't know because I went to REI and they have these customer returns sometimes.
Yeah.
And this one was like, he bought the wrong size, so it split and he super glued it together. So it was like really cheap.
Okay.
It was like $40 instead of like $150.
All right.
And so I was like, "This is my first pair of shoes. I could buy the cheap ones." And it was what I was looking for too. So if you don't know about climbing shoes, there's lots of kinds. I wanted a flat bottom, not an arched bottom, because they're more comfortable. It's like a beginner shoe, and they're more comfortable for beginners. And it fit me perfectly. And it was like pre-broken in, which is great because climbing shoes can be really tight when you first get them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I went with, and we'll see how it goes.
Wonderful. I'm excited for you to continue your climbing journey. The industry lingo, I think, is aggressive. So you have less aggressive shoes, and then more aggressive would be more like hook shaped and have harder, sharper angle to really just get a little point of a toe in there and be able to support your whole body weight. So yeah, that's cool. How often do you find yourself going to gyms versus climbing in your own gym?
So, not many, because it's like 25 minutes away.
Mm.
Yeah. So I've been using my home wall at least every day. So it's currently serving its purpose. I can do like one move and then run out of space. So I've been going in circles on it. Like I go up and then over and then down and, I do that. But it's getting kind of boring. So I need to build the next stage. So I've been planning how to build the next stage, which will be, to underhang or overhang, which I think mean the same thing.
Yeah.
But and will be much harder and will be much like 10 feet instead of 8 feet. So yeah,
cool.
That's the plan.
Love it. What a great way to do exercise in a way that's engaging, that's accessible. It's just right down there. Yeah, I like it. Cool. How's the rest of your life holistically? Any other projects, AI stuff or master stuff? Or?
Not much. I sort of chilled. I tried to do a Kaggle competition. I looked at the open ones. I'm not super enamored with any of them, and I could probably force my way into being interested in a couple of them. But I could also just relax and wait for new ones to come out. New ones come out like every couple of weeks. And so, and there's a few ending soon, which means there's probably going to be a few more starting soon. So I may do that. I may also try. I got the Contrails data downloaded finally. It's 450 gigabytes. It stopped twice. And so I had to restart it. It finally worked. It took like all day to download. And then I had to unzip it, which took like half an hour to unzip this giant thing. So I finally have all the data. So maybe I'll look at that one. But yeah, other than that, yard work, climbing.
Okay.
Not much.
Cool.
Yeah. And my job. Yeah. So normal work stuff.
I've said this before, but I'm selfishly invested in you doing the Contrails one. Contrails are very interesting to me. I actually, we talked about this a little bit before, but my, there's a segment of my family that I think is more conspiratorially minded, of thinking that there might be, what am I trying to say? Like, if there's a narrative that the government or the media is tricking us, there are members of my family that find that sort of argument at a baseline more appealing. And we talked about this before, but if listeners don't know, there's a conspiracy theory, as far as I can tell, it is a conspiracy theory, that there's a thing called chemtrails, where planes will dump aluminum into the atmosphere. Aluminum's even strong. Planes are dumping some sort of chemical into the atmosphere that is having some sort of climate engineering thing, and they're doing this secretly, and it's a secret government program, and they shouldn't be doing it because it's bad, but they're doing it anyway for some sort of short-term secret gain. And this became a topic in our family group chat a little while ago. And a documentary was posted that like went all into this, and I watched the entire documentary, and it was fascinating. And I replied in it saying like, I don't find this very credible. And I was asked why I didn't find it credible. And then I'm sucked in and I wrote a little essay about like specific points in the video that I didn't agree with. And I did it the whole time knowing like this is pointless. Why am I doing this? But I found it interesting, and I know a lot more about the chemtrail theory now, which like I could sort of justify it within that, and I was entertained in it. And I was very surprised to see at the end of that members of my family that had previously that had posted the documentary said that they were very convinced by my argument, and they totally, and it sounded like they flipped their opinion, which was incredibly unexpected. But I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I was gonna say even if you really disagree with something and it's easy to just be like, I won't say anything. It can be important, especially when it comes to family, to like voice your opinion, especially if you think you're correct, which is what they're doing too. But that's why we get into debates and arguments and stuff. But do it in a very kind way. So your response was, I don't find this argument very credible, not you're stupid for believing this.
Right.
It's a very different thing to say. And so, that sounds like a healthy, thing that happened. And I will also say chemtrails are not a thing, but
correct.
The U.S.
As far as I
government
can tell,
the U.S. government has done things like they essentially, I think, pepper sprayed an entire town by dumping stuff out of a plane. This was like in the 50s, like when they were testing like chemical weapons.
Yeah.
They've also done similar things with certain pesticides and drugs. I think the U.S. government has a checkered past of doing crazy things to its own citizens.
Yes.
So you can go look. Those are unclassified documents that actually came from the government. So every conspiracy theory has a hint of truth, which is probably why that's probably why things theories like that come up, because crazy things have happened.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate that there are people thinking along these lines, because I think that's how you discover, actual conspiracies have been a thing. There, the Tuskegee trials is a great example of that. I think researchers gave a population syphilis and then were experimenting on them basically just to see, like, let's see how terrible the death is when you have syphilis.
Yeah, and refused to treat them, or said they were treating them and then didn't actually treat them. Yeah,
a treatment came out for it, and they didn't tell the participants of the study. Terrible. So like things like that have happened.
Yep. Yeah, there's for sure bad things that have happened. So
yes, another thing that has happened in the category of chemtrails is you can seed clouds. This is something they do routinely in Dubai by dumping silver. Some silver composite in it, and then that creates these crystals that then can precipitate rain. And until very recently, no one was even sure if it actually worked, because it only increases the chance of it raining by like 4% or something, and it's just really, and it's also incredibly expensive. But it's much less expensive than paying for irrigation. So like there were a number of years where people were doing this and not quite knowing if it was working, and it was costing a whole bunch of money. But I think the consensus now is that it actually works.
Yeah, I think they also did that in Beijing before the Olympics, so that it rained before the Olympics and not during.
Oh, interesting.
I believe I remember that. Yeah, this is how conspiracy theories get started, though, because maybe I just read that on some crazy website. And, so go look that up.
That sounds right. That sounds credible.
Exactly.
Plausible thing to
Let's make a documentary about it.
Yeah. Cool. I have a few things I want to talk with you about. I have a project update on FileInbox. I have a question I want to ask you at a higher level of how to be... What am I actually asking? We'll get to that when I get to it. There's a question I want to ask you, and I'm not sure what the question is yet. I have an update on being a father. I did a deep dive into a bunch of baby gear, and I want to talk to you about it. And then I have a quick update on my weight loss journey. So, from the top, right like seconds before this podcast, it was probably a bad idea to push it then. I pushed the Google Drive integration backend code.
Nice.
And actually, no, it was a fine idea to do that because it's all serverless. So those functions are independent of all the other functions. Oh, I love this architecture. Yeah, no, it's fine. I haven't pushed the front end yet. Final production testing still needs to happen, but I'm pretty sure that's done. And it's done a mere 28 days after I scheduled when I thought it would take. I budgeted 2 days to finish this, and it took 28 days. Part of that I talked about last time was this trip that I took, and I was assuming I would be just as productive on the trip as when I'm here, and that wasn't true. Part of it was a lot more complicated than I thought. Part of it was I dug into it much deeper to do it the correct way, so that now the third integration is going to be much easier. I just like define a single file, and I have the standard interface, and so I'm happy with the work. And I don't think I can say that I'm unhappy. I feel slight discomfort at the mismatch between my expectation of how long I thought it would take and how long it actually took. And I'm going to go forward with, I think your recommendation last time was like, finish the Google Drive integration. Integrations are classically difficult to do. Probably everything else on the to-do list is going to be much more tractable and simpler to get done. So finish this and then just bump everything forward, and don't like, I don't multiply everything on the to-do list by a factor of 14. Finish this and then keep going. So that's what I'm going to do. So the update is that's probably done now. It'll be wrapped up today, and it feels good to have done it the right way. And I'm excited to get to things on my to-do list that hopefully are not as big of a bottomless pit of complexity.
Yeah. I still think that's a good recommendation. Great that you got it done. And now you can go forward and use it as one data point in your estimation of things.
Yes. Cool. I'll be a better project estimator, project manager. Okay, here's the question that I'm not even sure what the question is that I'm trying to ask you. I feel when I'm feeling positive about it, I feel like excited that there's so much work that I can do. And when I'm feeling negative about it, I feel overwhelmed. That like FileInbox has these two big segments of work that I can be doing. The first category is work owned by the emperor. No, the first category is things that Asia has told me to do, which is so straightforward that like when there's something that she's told me to do in the whole context of my life, it's very clear, okay, this is the most important work I can be doing. Asia's saying that she needs this number or this report. I know how to do that. Let me do it really quick, and then that's done. And I've struggled in that. I don't have her final report yet of like, this is what your timeline of work should look like. I know that doing more customer interviews is important. So that's a majority of what I have my assistant helping me do right now. And anytime one of those comes up, that has my full attention. But I don't have from her like, this is what to do if you're not doing customer interviews. I think what that process is going to look like. She said after I do about 5 interviews, I think I've done 4 so far. So later this week is the last scheduled meeting that we have. I think this is the time to stop and reflect and like analyze the data that I got from the surveys and look at the data from the interviews and then use that to define, okay, the obvious next step, the obvious next experiment is to make this pricing change and see what happens, or to, make this onboarding change and see what happens. But I'm not quite there yet. So that's the first category of work that I could be doing for FileInbox. The second category of work that I could be doing for FileInbox is working on this serverless transition that's been haunting me since we started this podcast, but it's gonna get done. I got a big old chunk of it done now. And if I'm looking at I've got the printout of the list here. I haven't bumped the dates forward yet, but I think I have 2 months left, which is exactly the amount of time I thought I had when I started the Google Drive thing about a month ago. But now there's more certainly 2 months left. So I know that I can be doing that. That's all FileInbox. That's one category of work that I could be doing. The second category of work that I could be doing is stuff with Repurpose Engine. I just discovered a new competitor to this yesterday. I actually found out about it from a tweet from Aaron Francis, and I felt this little pang of like, oh my God, you traitor. Like, I'm working on a project with this, and now you're tweeting about this other and that's not the case. There are lots of people working on this, and my goal is to help, first of all, like to build a tool that I'm going to use myself, which I haven't gotten to that yet. I haven't gotten to a place where I've built a thing that we're actually using for this podcast, which is the original reason that I was interested in this problem. And I think that's the thing to race towards. Like, I want a really simple, clarified. I want a box that I can paste in, link to one of our YouTube videos, and it spits out stuff that we can be repurposed media, whether that's stuff to put on TikTok or tweets or anything else. I haven't yet sat down to make a timeline of that, of what that would take, or like really clearly develop that picture. I've gotten incrementally closer. I think I have as good of an idea as I've ever had, but there's some thinking that needs to go into that of what exactly needs to happen. That's the second category of stuff that I could be working on. Those are both like main projects. That's both things that I can justify working on in normal working hours, like when I'm setting aside time to do work. And then I have side project-y stuff. And there's two main categories of that. There's Attaboy. I think the next step forward with that is to start charging people for it. Have a limit of, like, you can only send whatever. 20 messages are free, and then after that you have to either buy messages or subscribe to a plan. And then the second category of that free work is consulting. I'm categorizing consulting as nights and weekends for right now. And I have a job lined up that I could be doing. And then a second job that I could do after I do another proposal. And then I have this bottomless pit of like, but there's an infinite number of things that I could be working on, and there's all these side projects, and like the world is this unlimited playground of all these possible things that could. So we're shutting that out for now. I have these 4 things that I could be working on, and I feel like there's a lot of low-hanging fruit of, if I can just do it faster, it would be better. And that feels a little overwhelming. I think that's part of my motivation to see if I can be hiring a developer, if I could be working with someone in parallel, and this isn't dependent on like my focus time, which is limited and going to become much more limited when I have kids. I think from what I hear from people, and I still don't know what I'm asking you. I think it's like. Is there a better way that I could be prioritizing my time to be getting towards this goal of raising revenue faster?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you ended with the goal, because that's what I was going to ask you. Is you have these things, and so far you have put together to-do lists for certain specific tasks, but it's important to step back and think about what you want to do. First of all, I'll say this is totally normal feeling. Like to switch between, being excited and being overwhelmed is completely normal. If your goal is still to raise revenue the fastest, then what I would do is categorize each of the buckets of things in terms of what the likelihood is that you think that that thing could raise revenue the fastest. Off the top of my head, Attaboy seems like a little bit of a distraction / lottery ticket. Like, if you hit it right and do all the things right, maybe you can, it can run in the background and be awesome. But since you have no evidence of that yet, that feels like it should be lower on the list, just because, the stuff Asia's doing seems directly applicable to raising revenue. So I would focus on that, especially because she's engaged. So while she's engaged with you, like, use all of your ability to extract information and figure out what to do. That's my take on that. The serverless transition, if you really are 28 days away or 20 days away or whatever, I know you will feel so good when you get that done.
It's going to feel amazing.
You were just very depressed about how long Google Drive took. So maybe doing the next few things, if they are faster, then maybe you can ramp up your excitement a little more by getting some wins under your belt. So that's how I feel about that. Repurpose engine, I think, is your long-term play, which is great. But even when you were describing it, it sounds like you have a ways to go before you're even still in the thinking phase to figure out what you need to do before people pay you. So while I think that's a great long-term play, and I think you're feeling pressure because you see these competitors, that feels like something that you're going to invest years in, not months. So if I follow all that logic, for me, not being you, I think I would ignore Attaboy for now. I would do whatever Asia says and maximize that while you have her in that arrangement. And then I would try to get your serverless transition done. In the background, you can do repurpose engine also, but I wouldn't put hard deadlines on anything right now because you're still in thinking mode. And when I'm in thinking mode, if you have hard deadlines for things, Like that doesn't feel good. Um, that's my general take on things. I don't know if that lines up with what you're going to do or what you feel like doing, or if that was helpful at all. But
There's a few
yeah.
things that you said that I think were very helpful. I think the most helpful thing in that for me was framing Repurpose Engine as more of a long-term play. I think I've been framing it as, well, this is a thing that I've been thinking about for 2 years. So
Yeah.
I'm already late. And that feels bad. I was talking with one of the other co-founder from Wave the other day, and he said something that along the lines of like, if you had launched this like 3 years ago, that would have been, you could have taken over the market, but now you're a little late. It's going to be much harder to do this. And his take on it was like, well, just put something together and launch it, and then have it doing something when you have the baby, and then see what happens from there as another small bet. But I like your reframing of that. This is more of a long-term project, because that is more how I feel about it. Like the space is still changing so rapidly, and it's like the water's frothy right now in terms of the number of people coming in and the number of angles that people have on it. And I think probably the best strategy for me right now is to position myself in a way where I'm learning as much as I can. I'm like aware of all the different market developments, and like when the solution becomes very straightforward and easy, then I strike of like, okay, here's what I've learned from all the different people who are in the space. Here's the amalgamation of all the different pieces of this that I think solve the problem the best. Here's the thing. Framing it more like that, I think I feel less pressure to have done this already a week ago. So a common sentiment that was interesting in talking to people at Crafting Commerce with this category of tool was like, people seem to be waiting for the thing that's going to be the one answer. People have tried a few tools in this, but they're broken and they don't really work. And right now, if you go to the videoclipper.com, that's in that category of tool. Like if you go there and paste in a video, I'm pretty sure it's just broken, and I feel embarrassed about that. I think it'll get to a point and then like you can't actually export the clips or something. So like the strategy that I'd like to have with that category of problem is I wait until I have a simple thing that is an amalgamation of the things that I've picked up of everyone's different approach to this problem. And then I make the thing that once someone has used it once, it works, and they feel the sigh of relief of like, oh, thank God, I don't have to keep track of all these million tools. Like this is the one thing that's going to work that solves all the problems the way that I want to solve them. Okay. Framing it more like that feels good. And I can do that incrementally. I could do that like if I can find this happy path of like, okay, this is the core thing that I know I can deliver on that is going to help the most number of people. And then I have a framework of being able to incrementally add other things on that would help. Maybe what I want to do is just spend an hour like, I think I just want to think about it for an hour and just think about what might this look like if it's, how might I consolidate all the ideas that I have connected to this, and is that final tool a thing that I could reasonably publish and continue supporting and charge for before October? Okay, that was the most helpful part of what you said. And then yeah, for sure, it makes sense with this goal that anytime Asia gives me work to do, that has the highest priority, because FileInbox is a thing already making money. Asia is a person whose job is to figure out is to solve this problem that I'm struggling with of how do you maximize growth. So yeah, later this week I have my last scheduled call with her, where I think she's going to lay out like, these are the things you need to be doing in this order based on the data we've collected. So I think that is going to be incredibly clarifying. That's going to be the very clear path to this is how you maximize revenue. And then interweaved with that, finishing this serverless transition is very important, even though I can't quite justify it from a business perspective. And between the two of those, like that's a full-time job if I'm just focused on those two things. Anytime Asia has work that I can be doing, do that. if I'm waiting for something in the category of work that Asia's giving me to do, I can't, like if I'm waiting for survey results to come in, or if I'm waiting for some data from some marketing thing to come through, what I can be doing is pushing forward the serverless transition. Yeah. Okay. And then in the background of that, I want to be thinking about repurpose engine. That's a long-term play. And then Attaboy is a distraction. So put that on a shelf. And then consulting is something I can be doing for just to make money. Okay. I feel like that's much more ordered.
Yeah. There's two other things I thought of while you're just talking to, which is, one is I recognize, I understand you feeling late to repurpose engine, but there's no category leader right now. And I think like in 10 years, people will still want to repurpose content. Mm-hmm. And so even if there is a market leader and they get 50% of the market, say there's 10 million creators in the world that want to use this, there's still 5 million people who are looking for something new. So I don't think you're late at all.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, think about this multi-year kind of project. And then the other thing I thought of is put yourself, so this is kind of like the backwards plan idea, put yourself in October, and what will you feel better having done? Completed the serverless transition and gotten it out the door, or, got repurpose engine to the point where you have 3 customers paying $100 and they're all asking for more things. And, like it's almost like more work for you to do that rather than getting something done and finished.
That's very clarifying. Yeah. FileInbox for sure. There's one of my primary motivations for doing the serverless transition is that the infrastructure is much more stable and solid. And this last week, I don't know what was going on, but there were a lot of server notifications I got that servers were crashing in FileInbox. And I've put so much work into the old infrastructure on Rails to make sure that like when a server crashes, the whole thing doesn't come down. I've got this multi-server architecture and redundant servers across different clouds and stuff, which is a pain to deal with. It's a whole bunch of DevOps. It's a whole bunch of like, when the Heartbleed bug came out, I had to be the person to go in and log into the servers and like update Ubuntu and do it in this staggered thing so they're not all updating. So like if I could get to the point where that category of problem can't hurt me anymore with a baby, and like it's Google's problem to scale this, that would feel amazing. That would be just like this very calm, stable, like, okay, I know that this category of thing can't happen, and I know that like I have this stable, scalable architecture, and that's where I would want to be. And I would not want to be in the position where I have FileInbox still on the old architecture, and I have this new thing with customers who are asking me for more features. Yeah. Repurpose engine is the long-term thing. I think like I didn't think of Apple as behind when they still hadn't released their VR headset. They take this position of like sitting back and watching things shake out and looking at the things Facebook and Valve and everyone else was doing with their headsets and taking the things that worked and doing their own special secret sauce in it. And now probably this has happened with several of their product categories in the past. Probably they're going to be set to just dominate the market. They're going to be set like they're coming in with like, okay, everyone, we're done now. We've figured out what the best thing to have is, and it's this. Here you go. And thinking about it, like we got my dad a VR headset for his birthday or Father's Day last year, and he only ever uses it when there's one of us there to help him set it up. And my mom doesn't use VR, and most people I know don't have VR headsets. And of the people I know who have VR headsets, like you have a Oculus or Meta Quest, right? When's the last time you used it?
Oculus 2 or something. Hardly ever.
Yeah, hardly ever. Yeah.
So it's super cool, and I probably got my $300 out of it, but hardly ever.
Yeah, I think Apple's poised to make a headset that you're going to be using every day, and they weren't late. They were exactly on time. So that's how
Apple is never late. It arrives exactly when it means to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think Tim Cook from internal memos, he pushed it before some people internal at the company were ready. And the way that they're doing it, they're pushing out the higher end headset first, which is going to mean that you get an early adopter curve. It's just going to be weirdos like me who buy one, and then they'll have the more consumer one. But yeah, I think that's how I want to be framing this. Repurpose engine is not late. It's right on time.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. I feel much better. Thank you.
Right.
It's especially clarifying to have this decision criteria of like, okay, the highest most important thing is anything Asia tells me to do. Second most important thing is FileInbox serverless transition, aiming to get that done and stable before October. And then I guess consulting.
Everything
is the
else
third
is
thing
great.
from that. Yeah. Everything else is like nights and weekends. And, yeah. Okay.
I think if you approach consulting like I do, though, it's pretty clarifying. Like it's time boxed and you have to get it done because there's a client, and that was the kind of stuff I could work on at night, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't get distracted by YouTube or whatever because it's like I have this thing, it's due tomorrow. I'm just gonna get it done.
Yeah,
and I could work that around my other things. So yeah, I think
I feel a lot of gratitude towards my past self too. That I've already in drafting the proposal, I already thought through all the complicated parts of the project. So it's like the proposal is my to-do list. It's just I need to sit down and do it. And with ChatGPT now, it's going to be even simpler. I'm just going to I have the to-do list and I ask ChatGPT, how do you do this stuff? And then it's going to give me the code and I'm going to test it. Yeah, that'll be super easy. And then I also gave myself real cushy time-boxed deadlines because it wasn't a huge priority for them. And I offered them 3 different tiers of small, medium, large. And the only differentiating factor of the third tier was that it cost way more, and it was what I felt like would be like me working on this primarily, how quickly I could get it done. And they didn't go for that, which is fine. I primarily had that in there as just price anchoring, so they felt like they were getting a good deal. But what that's created for me is like they picked the second option with the deadline way further out, so I can just sort of like do just no, I feel like doing a fun project now. Yeah, I like having that category of thing in my life. If I could just have a constant stream of that sort of work, that'd be nice. Cool. Thank you. I feel less overwhelmed. I feel that was clarifying. Next thing of the 2 more things I want to talk about. I got super into baby gear this last week, which I knew this was going to be a thing that I would really enjoy of being a parent. Like just reading all the YouTube reviews and figuring out all the different systems, and there's so much. It's also really interesting that for products for children, it's this they need to be differentiated for the size of the child, and there's products you can get that are like I need to be talking about a specific thing, like car seats. There are car seats that are the best car seat for infants that only go up to something like 30 or 40 pounds. And then there's car seats that are convertible, where it's not the best car seat for an infant and it's not the best car seat for a toddler, but you can just have this one car seat and then flip it around when they become a toddler and they need a booster seat instead of a car seat. And now it's like, this is the one car seat that you need. So it's really interesting. Go ahead.
And I'll add pop into a pre-made frame for a stroller. Don't sleep on the car seat to stroller conversion. Yeah.
Yes. Oh. Okay. We're going to go down a little rabbit hole. There's a car seat that I saw that has a stroller built into the car seat. It's the Duna, D-U-N-A. I think that's right. I think it's the Duna.
That didn't exist when I had kids.
It's real cool. We went to Nordstrom and we were playing with it, and I was like, this is obviously the best car seat. How much better is this that like when you're trying to leave with your kid, instead of you park the car, you go to the trunk, you get the stroller, your child is crying in the car, you pop out the stroller, you put on the brakes, you open the door, and now you're at the kid, and now you take him out and you put him on the seat. Instead of that, you just get out and you immediately go to your child, and then you take it out, and then you're unfolding it from the car seat. So that for a while was our top pick of stroller. But then, the seams started coming undone. Sarah was like, "Hold on, this stroller, this car seat stroller combo is banned in Canada. Her family's in Canada. It's like we're very realistically, we'll be taking this to Canada. They won't let you through the border with the stroller because it doesn't have an adjustable angle. Like you can't change the angle of how it's mounted in the car, and that's important. Sure. And also, in doing more research on this, it's very bad for kids to be in a car seat, infants especially, for an extended period of time because they're at a more upright angle. They got real weak spines made of jelly. There's suffocation hazards of like if their head falls down and they can't lift it back up, kids can just suffocate in the car seat. That's a big problem. The maximum amount of time per day that a infant is supposed to be in a car seat is like 2 hours. So if this is your stroller, that's a problem. Like you don't want to be taking kids for long walks in this and then also going on a drive because like this is bad for them to be in here. So that was going to be the car seat that I got, and then I scrapped that and was like, no, we're not going to do that. So like, oh my God, there's it was so much fun. There's just this infinite rabbit hole of all the different possible ways that you can solve this problem. There's different car seats that go with different strollers, and there's car seats that swivel that are in the car seat, and then there's strollers that are convertible strollers with a bassinet, and also the seat for bigger kids, and then there's travel strollers, and then there's heavier duty strollers, and there's jogging strollers, which are optimized for different things. So like, I love being in this new environment of like, here's the landscape of all the different things, and you don't know what you care about yet, so just start exploring.
Yeah.
I loved it. there were like 2 different nights I stayed up super late just like watching these YouTube reviews of all these different comparisons of strollers. And what my consolidated research from all this is that the best thing to do is to get a Cybex Cloud Q car seat, which its core differentiating factor is that not while it's in the car, because this would be unsafe, but after you take it out of the car, you can flip this lever in the back and fold it down almost perfectly flat. So now it's okay for kids to be in for an extended period of time. I think that's the best infant car seat, because like when your child has fallen asleep in the car, I know that's like a primary way that parents are able to get their kids to fall asleep. What you don't want to be doing is waking them up by taking them out of the car seat. Like you want to be walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around Indiana Jones style, take him out of the car seat, and then lay him down. But if you leave him down in a traditional thing, that's not okay. They could suffocate, and it's also bad for their spinal development. So you take it, you put it in the quiet room, and then you lay it flat, and then you walk slowly away, and now they can keep sleeping. I think that's the best infant car seat. Paired with the Baby Zen Yo-Yo 2 is a travel stroller that I think is the best travel stroller. And I watched a whole bunch of videos about all the different travel strollers. I think this is the best one. It's one of the most compact. It for sure can fit in carry-on luggage, but I think is important because if you're gate checking your stroller, then they're throwing it around and now your stroller is going to break. So I like just having things. I'm categorically, I don't like checking luggage. I don't trust the system of checking luggage. So it's super good for airline travel, which also makes it really good for just every day. You know, it folds into this small, tight, lightweight package. It's very easy to fold. It's not the easiest to fold, but it's incredibly easy to fold. And then you take it and you don't even have to put it in the trunk. You just put it like in the back of the car, and it has adapters that perfectly fit with the Cybex Cloud Q. And then once for as an infant stroller, instead of having a separate bassinet, you just have this stroller. You take the car seat that can lay perfectly flat, you plop it on. Okay, now that's our solution for infant stroller. As soon as baby gets too big for the car seat, because this is an infant-only car seat, I think it only goes up to 40 pounds or something. Now they go into the main body of the stroller, and we need to get a new car seat. This is an infant-only car seat. Yeah, so I think that's the best solution in that category. And I think that's better than like a dedicated stroller, which would have bigger wheels and slightly better shocks, but now it's just bigger and clunkier and bulkier. And now if we're traveling, we need to figure out some other travel stroller solution. This is just the stroller that we have that's going to last for several years. And with the combination of this car seat, it's the ideal solution. Any thoughts there on car seat or stroller stuff?
I don't think either of those things existed when I had kids, so no thoughts on those specific ones.
Okay.
But I will say, like, baby stuff is like a religion to a lot of people, and so you got to be really careful who you talk to about what.
I'm sure I just offended.
Convert you.
I'm sure I just offended tons of people. Like, how Cybex is trash. How
exactly.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's just a funny thing, I guess. But and then the other thing is,
you know who's going to get mad at me? If anyone has the Duna, because I was full in on the Duna, that convertible car seat that has the stroller built in. I was full in on it until I started reading more things about how like the angle is unsafe and how you don't want that as the stroller. But like if I had already bought that and I heard someone talking about that, I'd be mad because what I would be hearing someone say is that I'm a bad parent for having the stroller.
That's why.
And so I recognize very sensitive topic. I'm not calling you a bad. I think there's pros and cons to all these things. There's trade-offs everywhere. If you have a Duna, maybe just be mindful of the amount of time that your baby is in it if they're a newborn.
The other thing I was going to say is you will be surprised at the things that annoy you after the fact. Like you can do all this research, but like, for example, if the car seat is slightly too wide and you can't park your car in your garage in a way where you can get the door open enough to get it out without running into this thing behind you. That'll piss you off. It has nothing to do with the car seat necessarily.
Yeah.
but yeah, stuff like that. What else happened to us? Not that happened to us. I think it did though. I would feel everything in a store before you buy it, because the other thing that happens is, especially with small hands, my wife has kind of small hands, and it's very hard to push some of the latches and buttons on some of the brands we found. So make sure you actually press every button and fold every latch and do everything before you buy something, because you get a feel for like if it's going to hurt your hands and stuff like that. And then you said something about stroller wheel size. We had a stroller with smaller wheels, but there's this particularly large bump on one of the sidewalks right next to our house. Yeah. And every time we went over that, it was like, rah, 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 rah. And so, yeah, stuff like that, like things that are kind of minor, but will really make you angry. You can't really get around a lot of those things without actually buying the thing and trying it. But yeah, those are my tips.
Yeah, I totally recognize that there's no perfect solution to this. There's there's going to be annoyances with any way that we go. It's all about trade-offs. And at least in these two things, I feel pretty confident that I've made the optimal trade-offs for what my prediction of our future situation with the baby is going to be. So yeah, so far I feel pretty good. I feel pretty confident.
But the other thing I'll say is it's really easy to get really, really expensive baby things that are often inferior.
Yes.
So just be worried about that. It is usually true that the bottom of the barrel is not good. That's where one of the latches was a real problem. We bought like just a cheap like sort of travel car seat.
Yes.
And the latch was like so hard to open that my wife couldn't do it. We had to buy a new car seat. Like she just couldn't do it with her fingers. So don't get the cheapest thing, but often the most expensive thing is also just a waste of money. So
I'm about to make more people mad. There's a brand called Nuna, which as far as I can tell is like they make okay stuff and it's very expensive. It's the brand that they're pushing at Nordstrom. It's the cart, and they have the whole integrated system of like the car seat and the stroller and everything else. And I don't think it's good. I think it's just expensive. It's not bad, but if you just go one step further, like, hold on, your solution to this is that I have a separate bassinet, or that I take your car seat and put it on my stroller, but babies aren't supposed to lay flat. That's just not a thing they're thinking about. It looks really nice. It's really nice materials, but yeah, that's not okay. And then my hack for all this stuff being incredibly expensive, the car seat that I just mentioned, the Cybex Cloud Q, retails for $450. We got it.
That's much.
It's too much. We got it on Facebook Marketplace for $70, and it's perfect. I really enjoyed this part. I took all the fabric off of it, which was a puzzle, and it was even more of a puzzle to put it back on. But I washed it according to the instructions. You cold wash it and you air dry it. But now after doing that, I know all the ins and outs I know all the different pieces of the stroller. If I ever have to take part of it apart, I know exactly how that works. And buying it used, it's an infant car seat at maximum. If it's gone through one owner, it was only used for something like 4 or 5 months. I think it goes up to 8 months, actually. It was only used for a small number of months. I think for baby gear in particular, this is a category of purchases that make a lot more sense than anything else to be purchasing secondhand, because they have a very limited window of when they can be used. And I have a crazy thing that fits perfectly into that category, which I'm picking it up sometime this week, called the snoo. Do you know what a snoo is? This is pretty new. This is another thing in the category of baby gear that makes it especially convenient to be having kids at this time. The snoo is a $1,800 smart bassinet that was made by it was made by a pediatrician, and I haven't read the original papers, but the movement of it, something, it's supposed to mimic the movement in the womb or something. And the idea, this is just a thing for newborns. So maximum, you're going to get maybe 6 months use out of this. They have a rental program where you can rent it for $150 a month, plus $100 cleaning fee where they deep clean it and steam it or something. But if you buy one secondhand, it's 30 or 40% of the total costs. I think we're going to be able to pick it up for $700. And then we still own it at the end of that, but the movement of it, something, it's supposed to So I'm just going to sell it for $700 and we're effectively getting a free rental. And like, I don't know, we might buy a new mattress for it or something, or make sure that, I'll do the same sort of deep cleaning for it. But now this is like the premium product. I don't know if it's going to work. There was a study done on it that showed that this also isn't a thing, I think, for the baby. I think this is the thing for the parents. I'm framing it as this, it's a digital robot night nurse. One of the only studies I could pull up on this that showed that it's like scientifically validated that it does something that helps people showed that it reduces the incident of postpartum depression by over half, and also insomnia, particularly in the mothers. It also reduces significantly. So if I can temporarily invest $700 in this thing and then get my $700 back a few months later to have the opportunity to have much higher quality of life for Sarah and I, absolutely. And feels like a total hack to be doing this on Facebook Marketplace and like buying and selling it secondhand. So that's another thing that I did a bunch. There's a few different categories of potential smart bassinets, but Snoo looks like the best one for what we're looking for. I'm excited about that.
A couple of thoughts. One is, so our kids had reflux, which is not as bad as colic, but they still cry a lot at night because it hurts them when they lay down, because it's basically heartburn. And I would have paid $10,000 to get them, better.
Yeah.
So if anything, whatever you can do. And we actually thought about getting there are these college programs where college students will sleep in your house and wake up with the baby.
That's good.
And it costs a lot of money.
Sure.
But I was like, I nearly thought we almost did that because like it was driving us insane. Anyway, the other thing I'll say might worry you, and I don't want to worry you unnecessarily. It might make some people angry. So I'm couching this in lots of things. But
oh no.
Generally, secondhand purchases for baby gear is great because, like you said, it's only used for a little bit of time. Most people want new things, and that's why there's lots of used stuff on the market. Great. Car seats, you have to be very careful because car seats that are in an accident should be recycled.
Yes.
If you buy a car seat that was in an accident unknowingly, it can have micro cracks.
Yes.
And that's why they want you to get rid of it. So just trust whoever you buy it from is what I'll say.
Yeah.
For car seats specifically.
Yeah. There's an element of trust in this. He seemed like a pretty good guy. We met him on the day before Father's Day, and he was taking his kids to the Crayola store near us. And I also like stripped the car seat specifically looking for any sort of cracks or damage or anything else. And didn't see any. But yeah, there's an element of trust in that. This, like, if the thing that I cared about above everything else was absolutely affirming that this was the safest possible thing, I would have bought it new. And my decision criteria is not valuing the price of something at zero. That's part of the game as I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I think they also expire. I like car seats.
Yeah, they do expire for the same reason, because being in a super hot car is going to stress plastic.
Yeah.
So after several years of just sitting in a hot car, will make it weaker.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why they expire.
Yep. Yeah. When we picked it up, it looked brand new, but yeah, that's a thing I'm thinking about.
I think it was a reasonable choice for you to make in this, but I felt it necessary to put that out as a public service announcement.
Yeah, that's important. I think if I could have found the stroller used, no one has these listed on Facebook Marketplace. The Babies in Yo-Yo 2 is like, which I think is a good sign because it's a very popular stroller and there's none of them on Facebook Marketplace. I think that points to that people are buying this and then keeping it for all their kids.
Yeah, strollers are generally much longer lived than infant car seats because like baby car seats, you get a few months out of them, 6 months maybe, and then you're done. Strollers, convertible strollers especially, last years.
Yeah.
So yeah, for multiple kids too. People will keep those between kids when they won't for car seats because they expire.
That's with the accessories, I think it's going to be like $450, $500. So we have a baby shower coming up. So I have it listed on the baby shower registry now. And it's also on Amazon Prime. So, whenever we want to, we can just pull the trigger on that. But yeah, I'll try my luck with that first. The last category of thing that I did research in is the bassinet/crib. So the smart bassinet, the SNOO, I should say what that does also. It is like monitoring the baby's heart rate and movement and I think also temperature. It has an app that like tracks the sleep of your baby also, which that feels really cool.
Does that have an alarm for SIDS? It sounds like the type of thing it would have.
It does have an alarm, and I assume it's for SIDS. I need to read more about the like what in particular it's doing, but the high level thing that I think it's doing is when the baby's fussy, it tries to calm the baby down by moving it, and it can play white noise, and it can move in several different ways, and it can vibrate. And I think the promise of it is that it's sort of learning from your baby what your baby likes. And then if it's something that it can't solve by doing those things, then you obviously need to go and like change the diaper or feed the baby. But that's exciting. So that's going to be the bassinet for when we need it the most, of when we're trying to get more sleep for the first 3 to 6 months. Transitioning off of that, the bassinet crib combo, the classic thing to do is to get like a piece of furniture that has the floor that can raise and lower. And when it's up higher, it's the bassinet. You put the baby in, and then as the baby is able to like climb out and escape better, you lower the floor, and then that becomes the baby's bed. And then transitioning out of that, you get like a floor bed or something for a toddler. Here's, I think, what we're going to do. There's this thing called a pack and play. Do you know what a pack and play is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of the core pieces of baby gear. Everyone I know has one. I think that's just going to be the crib and bassinet. It has a bassinet insert. I see no reason why a child would care that their bed can be packed up. That it's like more of a temporary sort of bed setup seems perfectly functional to me. And then if we're ever traveling somewhere or at our friend's house or something, we'll be traveling with their bed. So that'll be a point of consistency that, they won't be thrown off by like, you have your travel bed and then you have your regular bed. Same sort of philosophy with the stroller. Like the travel stroller will be the main daily driver stroller. And those are currently the categories of things that I've narrowed down of what, for me and Sarah, are the best ways, the best products that we can get that are solving the problems that I think we're going to have.
Cool. I think the bassinet thing is a reasonable strategy with 2 caveats. One is that the bassinet for pack and play is usually like this weird fabric thing that's a little flimsy.
Yes.
So depending on the one you get, it may be like using it all the time might be either uncomfortable for the baby or might like break or whatever, because it's like these plastic clippy things. So that's the only thing I'd worry about there.
It's the plastic clippy thing, but then you put the regular floor of the pack and play on top of that. So it's
the regular floor of the pack and play is usually like a thin, tiny little piece of fabric.
Yes.
It's not like a mattress, unless yours comes with a mattress.
It's a hard, thin thing, but I think that's important, especially for newborns, that they don't have like a.
It is, surface. Yeah. So for newborns, you need extra firm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds fine.
Okay.
And then the only other thing is, this is an annoying thing that we found with pack and plays, is if you leave them set up all the time, when you want to travel somewhere, you have to break them down, pack them away, and then travel with them instead of just grabbing a bag. And that might get on your nerves, but that's something else you'll learn.
To rephrase what you just said, an annoying thing about the pack and play is that you have to pack it up before you play with it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. No. That type of work, I really like. I see it as little mini games in life of like, oh, let's see how fast I can pack up the pack and play now.
It is pretty satisfying because you basically just pull one thing and it all collapses.
Yeah. Really well designed, really well built. My sister and brother-in-law had one also, and they really like it. It's been brought to our house a few times for my nephew to sleep in. Yeah, I think that has just solved the problem really well, and so might as well use that for the main thing. One last thing that I wanted to talk about. I am down to 183 pounds this morning. I'm ahead of my weight loss goal by, I think, 2.5 or 3 weeks, which feels good. I don't recommend getting food poisoning to get ahead of your goals, but that was an effective solution for me. And it's been interesting to see during the day how much my weight fluctuates. It seems to be about 4 or 5 pounds. So I've been trying to get like a low mark and a high mark for weight during the day, not just like the single weigh-in. And I feel like I have a better picture now of like, okay, well, if I weigh myself and I'm, 4 pounds over where I'd like to be, that might just be the daily fluctuation, which feels cool. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
And keep it going. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how much your weight can fluctuate, which because you don't eat that much food, but you drink a lot of water and you breathe. And so, yeah, it can go crazy up and down. Also, scales have like a 2-pound error. So, like,
Yeah.
it could just be off by 2 pounds.
I've noticed that there's certain numbers that my scale seems to really like 100. It was like 186.2 or something it really liked. And I haven't done this yet, but I'm wondering if it's actually measuring in kilograms and then it's measuring in like whole kilograms and then converting to pounds. That. Like the whole thing with how maybe the Apple weather app wasn't showing 69 degrees. And people thought like, Apple's censoring 69 degrees, but it's actually like...
It's just converting.
Yeah, yeah. And you can't get 69 degrees converted from a whole number of Celsius degrees. Yeah.
That sounds very plausible. My thought is maybe it's like 8-bit binary or something, and you can't get a decimal to be certain things with 8-bit binary. That was my thought, but kilograms to pounds sounds more plausible. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I don't like that.
Weird things.
Like, I don't know what a better solution would be, but if you only have two significant figures,
old school
don't stop showing me the decimal place if you don't know what the tenth of a pound, if you're not that accurate.
The old school analog ones is the solution to that, where the ones where you actually move weights.
Yeah.
You can, because analog, so you get infinite precision, but
but it's much harder to read.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should need a better scale.
It can also, our scale, so we have a tile floor, and the tiles are not quite the same height. And when you move the scale from one tile to another, it shifts by a pound or two. It's like, yeah, really annoying.
I don't know what a better solution to that is. There's a luggage weighing device that I have that I think goes up to 100 pounds. That's going to be how we weigh the baby. I'm wondering if hanging weight would be more accurate. I don't know why that would be more accurate though.
Maybe like you can get more accurate scales. They're just really expensive. So, if you're spending $50 on a bathroom scale, it's not going to be very accurate.
Yeah. I think I don't care. I think as long as the number's going down, that's fine.
Take the average over a week and it's fine.
Yeah. I'm just looking for the trend line. I had the same thought when I was trying to measure my body fat percentage. And there's this really complicated formula to go from the measurement that you get from skin fold calipers to what your body fat percentage is. And I got real in the weeds with that for a while of like, okay, to have the most accurate total body fat percentage estimate, I need to be taking these 4 different skin fold caliper measurements of like one on my stomach and one on the back of my arm. And then, okay, here's the complicated formula to go from those measurements to what my actual body fat percentage is. And then I realized, hold on, I don't really care what the total body fat percentage is. Like that's interesting to compare myself to the population. But what I'm really after here is just, I would like lower body fat. So what I can just do is look at the one skin fold caliper measurement that is the easiest to get on my stomach, and then just write that number down. And then if that number is going down, my body fat percentage is going down. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's going in the right direction. So that's fine. Yeah. The simpler thing I think in that case is better. I'm not aiming for like highest accuracy. I'm just trying to move.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got to.
Then I will see you next week. Goodbye.